C.T. Studd, Cricketer and Pioneer, by Norman P. Grubb. Chapter 2. 3 Etonians Get a Shock. His 3 eldest boys were at Eton: Kynaston, George and Charles. All 3 brothers got their 11 the year of their father's conversion in 1877. So far as is known, this is the only time 3 brothers were ever in the Eton 11 together. They hadn't heard what had happened to their father, and so when in the middle of term he wrote and told them that he had arranged for them to come and meet him in town, they thought he was going to take them to a theatre or the Christian Minstrels. They got a shock when they found out it was a pie show. He took them to hear Moody. Before that time, Charlie said later on, I used to think that religion was a Sunday thing, like one's Sunday clothes, to be put away on Monday morning. We boys were brought up to go to church regularly, but although we had a kind of religion, it didn't amount to much. It was just like having a toothache. We were always sorry to have Sunday come and glad when it was Monday morning. We boys were brought up to go to church regularly, but although we had a kind of religion, it didn't amount to much. It was just like having a toothache. We were always sorry to have Sunday come and glad when it was Monday morning. The Sabbath was the dullest day of the whole week, and just because we had got hold of the wrong end of religion. Then, all at once, I had the good fortune to meet a real, live, play-the-game Christian. It was my own father, but it did make one's hair stand on end. Everyone in the house had a dog's life of it until they were converted. I was not altogether pleased with him. He used to come into my room at night and ask me if I was converted. After a time, I used to sham sleep when I saw the door open, and in the day I crept round the other side of the house when I saw him coming. A year passed. The boys were home for the summer holidays at Tedworth, and a number of cricket matches had been arranged. As usual, their father had men staying in the house each weekend to speak at the meetings on Sunday. 2 were down one weekend. One of them was popular with the boys, and the other, Mr. W., was not, for they considered him a milksop. On the Saturday morning, they planned a trick on him. They asked him to go for a ride with them and their father, for they had discovered that, although he said he could ride, he was really no good at it. The 3 boys rode behind, and suddenly passed the other 2, cantering like the wind, and of course nothing could hold the horses, to the great discomfort of Mr. W. He, however, had more mettle than he appeared to have, and kept his seat. They repeated this several times, and their father could not rebuke them because he himself was bursting with laughter. But that afternoon, Mr. W. had his revenge. He spoke to all 3 boys individually and got them to surrender to Christ, each without the other knowing. As I was going out to play cricket, Charlie said, he caught me unawares and asked, Are you a Christian? I said, I'm not what you call a Christian. I have believed on Jesus Christ since I was knee-high. Of course, I believe in the church too. I thought by answering him pretty close I would get rid of him. But he stuck as tight as wax and said, Look here. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on him should not perish, but have everlasting life. You believe Jesus Christ died? Yes. You believe he died for you? Yes. Do you believe the other half of the verse, shall have everlasting life? No, I said, I don't believe that. He said, Now, don't you see that your statement contradicts God? Either God or you is not speaking the truth, for you contradict one another. Which is it? Do you think that God is a liar? No, I said. Well then, Aren't you inconsistent, believing one half of the verse and not the other half?" "I suppose I am." "Well," he said, "are you always going to be inconsistent?" "No," I said, "I suppose not always." He said, "Will you be consistent now?" I saw that I was cornered, and I began to think, if I go out of this room inconsistent, I won't carry very much self-respect. So I said, "Yes, I will be consistent." "Well, don't you see that eternal life is a gift? When someone gives you a present at Christmas, what do? "I take it and I say thank you." He said, "Will you say thank you to God for this gift?" Then I got down on my knees and I did say thank you to God. And right then and there, joy and peace came into my soul. I knew then what it was to be born again. And the Bible, which had been so dry to me before, became everything. Charlie said nothing to his brothers at the time, but on returning to Eton he wrote and told his father. Then, a few days later at breakfast in their room at Eton, he and his brothers received a joint letter from their father saying how glad he was to hear the good news. They got a big surprise as they passed the letter from one to the other and found that the three brothers had each made his decision on the same day. So the milksop, who was no good at games, was really an expert at the greatest game of all, catching men for Christ, and he had cooked 3 shy fish, all members of the Eton 11, in one day.